This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
Like Jack Bauer.
Yeah, like Jack Bauer. This is 24th episode of Flixwatcher podcast. I'm Kobi.
And I'm Helen.
And yeah, guys, hope you enjoy the show. On this episode, we're talking about Young Frankenstein, the Mel Brooks classic with Gene Wilder and the smattering of other fantastic people. And we're joined by Susan and Gemma from Hayley and Ruth 2 Stars podcast.
But will it get more than 2 stars?
Yeah, it's got to. It's pretty good.
We are, of course, on iTunes, where you can subscribe and leave us a lovely review. You can also find us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod. Come say hi, give us a tweet, and visit the website flixwatcher.tv for full listings of each episode. As always, films reviewed in this podcast were available to stream on Netflix UK at the time of recording. There may be bad language and there may be spoilers. You have been warned. This episode of Flixwatcher Pod is brought to you by GL Productions. GL Production provide hassle-free professional quality podcast production at an affordable price. So if you're looking to get into podcasting but fancy a little bit of professionalism to help you out, then we highly recommend GL Productions. If you fancy 10% off your bespoke podcast production package, tell them Kobi and Helen sent you for your first order. Hello and welcome to this edition of Flixwatcher Pod, and today we are joined by Gemma and Susan. If you'd like to say hello, ladies, and tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Oh, brilliant. Hello. Thank you for having us on.
No worries.
My name's Gemma Arrowsmith. I'm a comedy actor, writer. I write on Tracy Ullman's show and a few other things and do Edinburgh shows and stuff. And Susan and I do a podcast called Hayley and Ruth 2 Stars, which you can find on the British Comedy Guides, and it's on iTunes and everything. And it's about 2 stupid reviewers, critics. It's really fun, isn't it?
It's really fun.
It is
It's
really
nice
fun,
to
yeah.
stick the knife into to different types of reviewers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and hello, my name's Susan Harrison. Thanks very much for having us on. Yeah, I'm an actor and a character comedian and an improviser. I do stuff with Showstopper, the improvised musical, where we improvise a musical.
Yeah.
It's
And,
mind-blowing,
I've
you
heard
guys.
about this recently and it kind of doesn't make any sense.
It's incredible.
Oh, you have to come and shout out suggestions. So
Right.
yeah, I do a bit of that and acting and some general dicking about in comedy.
Yeah.
Well, sounds
That's
great.
us.
Who doesn't love a bit of dicking around?
So we're talking today about Young Frankenstein.
Yes.
And who chose that?
I chose that. I love this film. And when you asked us to choose one, it was like it was probably like a picosecond before I decided to choose Young Frankenstein. 'Cause it had been coming up top of my recommended on Netflix. And I've seen it loads of times before, but I'd been going, I must watch that again because it's great. And so when you asked, I thought it was like instantly, yes, let's do Young Frankenstein. I think it's a great film. So it's 1974. I think we'll talk a bit later about how it's aged.
Sure.
But it's a 1974 film, but black and white.
Yep.
And it's so beautiful, you guys. It's Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks wrote it. Mel Brooks is directing, and it's 1974, so it's a complete choice to do it in black and white.
Yeah.
But it's so gorgeous. It's just so gorgeous looking. Do you want a synopsis?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Gene Wilder plays Frederick Frankenstein. We're looking at some pictures of him now. It's so great. Oh, Google image search Young Frankenstein, you guys, and it's just loads of beautiful images. And yes, Frederick Frankenstein. He's a professor, and he's really embarrassed about his family association with Victor Frankenstein. And he wants to remember for his own work on the human brain. But he finds out that his grandfather has died and has bequeathed his entire estate to him. So he travels to Transylvania, where he meets lots of crazy characters along the way and gets interested in his grandfather's work on the reanimation of corpses and attempts to do the same, to reanimate a corpse. And from then on, it's pretty much a direct parody of Frankenstein, but set in the modern day. Although I think it really beautifully doesn't quite feel like it's the modern day.
No.
It is, but it's got that quite sort of Edwardian feel to it, which I love. And it's just got an amazing cast. I just think everyone in this is just firing on all barrels.
So
it's absolutely brilliant.
So we jump straight into the cast
Yeah.
chat.
Gene Wilder.
Amazing.
I mean,
yeah.
he's so brilliant.
He is.
When did he died last year? I think.
Yeah, recently.
So or maybe the year before. And he looks fantastic in this. I think he's just made for black and white. And I believe he wore mascara. I think you can tell actually, because he just looks incredible in this. And Marty Feldman. That's one of the reasons that I chose, because I love Marty Feldman.
I love Marty Feldman.
He's so great. The loneliness of the long distance golfer, hilarious. And he was in lots of kids' things. He's absolutely brilliant. And just got in terms of interesting looking people.
Yeah.
Like really pushed the boat out.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, Peter Boyle plays Frankenstein, the monster.
The monster, yeah.
And
He's great as well.
absolutely, yeah.
Like, he's really endearing at times, which I wasn't expecting at all.
Which I think
is
is
this the first time you watched it then?
Yeah.
Okay.
which I think is quite true to the original, actually, that you feel a lot of sympathy for the monster. So the thing is,
Even in its really silly moments.
It's really silly, but also it can swing and become incredibly poignant, which is potentially something that you don't find in other Mel Brooks films, where it's just pretty
Gaga.
silly.
Yeah.
Gag, really dense with gags. And
Although,
I was thinking, there's whole sections of this where it's just like, oh, that looks nice, as opposed to, oh, let's have a fart joke in here or whatever. Like it's genuinely lovely cinematography. I think Terry Garr, who is in my favorite film of all time, Tootsie, she's really funny in it, and I think it's you've got three funny women in this film.
Yeah.
You know, Madeline Kahn is brilliant, and then you've got, is her name Cloris Leachman as Frau Blücher.
She's great.
So, she's really funny.
Yeah.
Really funny.
That's a great character. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, so this is the first time you've seen it?
Yeah.
So this is my first time I've seen it as well. But
Right.
Like aligned ourselves.
Yeah.
It's you did talk about the gags that go all the way through, and Mel Brooks for me was like Blazing Saddles, it was Spaceballs.
They're both so great.
And so I was kind of prepared for the almost naked gun aspect of this.
Yeah.
So you have to sit down, you have to be paying attention. And things like that, the horse neighing each time you say fly, is wicked.
Yeah. And the gag rate is still really high.
It is, yeah.
I just love that. I love it when a film isn't shy about just like shoving loads of gags in.
Yeah.
I know, maybe like not as many as normal, but still.
Yeah.
And like
And also the
so
stupidest,
silly. Yeah.
the stupidest,
Really stupid.
Werewolf there.
Yes, that's the
Werewolf.
one. Yeah,
It's so
I love that.
Walk this way.
Yeah, which way? This way. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that another reason I chose this is I'm just going to say it. My mum really fancies Gene Wilder, and so she
He is really fanciful.
So she's from. I've been trained like you will like Gene Wilder. He is amazing, and it's her. This is by far her favorite Mel Brooks, and I think I think it was the first Mel Brooks I ever watched. I think, or maybe no. I think I saw the first one I saw in cinema would have been Men in Tights.
Oh god!
But yeah. But it's a lot of fun. But I think this was the first one I ever saw. And my parents went to see it when it came out in 1974 at cinema in a double bill with Frankenstein, the 1931 version of
wow,
Frankenstein,
interesting.
which Mel Brooks borrowed the set. It was made by Universal. So the set that you see in Young Frankenstein was made for the 1931 Frankenstein movie.
Okay.
And so Mel Brooks hired it for this. So they saw it. My parents saw it in a double bill, which is so beautiful. So who's this? I would have looked at Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh no, hold on. That is not. We were told the wrong thing.
What?
When in our WhatsApp group, one of the guys sent a message around saying, "Who's this guy?" And I thought it was I thought it was Kirk Douglas, and he said it was it's Gene Wilder.
Who was that?
It was.
I can
Adam.
see why you think that though.
So that's wrong. That's not Gene Wilder. We'll probably cut this out of the podcast because that makes no sense. I wish we're looking at a picture, because there's a picture here of a guy who's clearly Gene Wilder.
Yeah,
That's
there he is. Oh, is that a school photo?
Yeah, it's a high school yearbook photo.
He looks older there.
But this guy,
his
that's
peak
not Gene Wilder, is
handsomeness
it?
is probably Young Frankenstein, I think.
For Gene Wilder?
Yeah.
I totally agree.
So I was bringing this up because you said your mum completely fancied
Yeah,
Gene
she
Wilder.
really does, yeah. Young Gene Wilder, yeah.
So
Something
so
about the eyes.
using the
That's
steps
such a great picture. He looks so insane.
with the hair
it's
and
so
the
good.
screaming and the lightning in behind
I
him.
think he goes more mental in this than in either the producers or Willy Wonka.
Producers is amazing.
But he's also
Willy Wonka
really,
is amazing.
yeah. But he also is really truthful,
Yeah,
which is
great
why it's
performance.
funny.
Yeah.
Like even his massive reactions are still really truthful to the character. So it's never. It just makes it even funnier. It's brilliant. I think he's amazing. Even at the very start when he's giving the lecture and getting angry about being called the wrong name and being associated with his, lineage and stuff. Even in those smaller scenes, he's brilliant.
There's so many great set pieces in it. So the sedative.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yes.
After
So stupid.
funny. Oh, I've written because I think you were saying like, oh, what are your favorite quotes? Oh man, so many of them. Just when he screams, when he reads his grandfather's notes for the first time and just screams, "It could work!" So mad. I just love it. But the women get good lines in this as well.
They do.
It is right. It a product of its time. I mean, like there's the knockers.
Yeah,
it is like
There's a lot of boob jokes. I mean,
so many boob jokes.
it could be worse. I did genuinely think it could be worse
Oh, God,
in
it
terms
could
of the
be way
sexism.
This is prime Carry On time as well. Isn't
Yeah. But I still, a few of those moments did make me go,
do you need that?
yeah.
I've written a hole in the hay. So silly. But yeah, there's the what knockers and I mean you. There's also
It's her character basically.
Hier
I
wordt
can't-
have een enorme Schwanzstücke.
Yeah, that's great.
That's
That's all right. Yeah, but her character is basically
Hit.
Yeah.
Terry Garr has a sort of history of making a lot out of very slight roles, I think.
Right.
She's brilliant. She's great in Tootsie. I know I always bring everything back to Tootsie, but she's that could potentially
Always
be
comes back to
just in life generally, everything comes back to Tootsie. I think her role in that could be very, very slight. I imagine it potentially was on the page and
Sure.
she just makes it this. We really empathise with her and she's great at that.
And fair play to that. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's
she's
a really
great at that.
hard skill
Yeah.
that women have to do a lot, making more of boring characters.
Yeah.
So.
I went in for an advert recently where there was it was a husband and wife and it was name of character
Uh-oh.
and wife.
No. Oh,
I'm trying to think,
Yeah.
why does it still happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's literally no reason why you could have just given
Give her a name.
literally
Yeah.
just give her a name,
Yeah.
honestly.
Top of your head.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Think
matter.
of a name that's...
By the way, neither of these characters had any lines. It was both identical, just reacting to things.
Yikes.
And it was, I know. So I'm not going to give the name, but it was like, say it was like Stephen and wife of Stephen. So weird. It's such a shame. But yeah, I think it's a product of his time, isn't it?
Yeah, I think those
1974.
moments,
Yeah.
those sort of boob moments haven't really aged very well.
No, but then we were talking about The Hangover and we've still got, there are still films that are less than progressive.
Yeah,
that are being brought
true.
out, I
But they're
suppose.
kind of called out now, whereas
Yes,
this would have been
I
kind of
suppose that's
standard.
true.
Yeah.
If someone tried to resurrect now a
Resurrect.
Carry On film,
Nice.
yeah, see what I did there?
Yeah.
Like a Carry On film, everyone would kind of grown now, wouldn't they?
Although I mean, there was Carry On Columbus, wasn't there? That was
Yeah,
the
but that was
ill-fated.
still
That was like
early
90s.
90s,
Yeah. I reckon we're not far off a Carry On reboot. I absolutely
It's
believe
happening,
that.
isn't it?
Is it?
Is it? Is it?
Probably. Yeah, I think so.
If they change the kind of boardiness aspect of it,
But I mean, what is left?
I don't know. I don't know.
Carry On. By the way, actually, to draw a comparison with Young Frankenstein, Carry On Screaming,
Yeah,
best Carry On film in my opinion. Have you seen Carry On?
No, I
Screaming?
haven't.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw it a few times when I was a kid.
It's far less booby than
Yeah.
all of the
Right.
others. I mean, there are some dreadful Carry On films. I've seen almost all of them, I think. And
but
I
there
think,
used to be a stock thing in the 80s on the
Yeah.
TV. But yeah, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any for ages. And I
I
don't
think
think
Carry On
I'd be
Screaming is the
bothered.
best because I think it's just there's just a bit more to it, and it's Harry H. Corbett from Steptoe, and it's not the usual. Well, there are some of the usual cast, but it's a bit more to it. And then Carry On Cabby as a close second because it was not written as a Carry On film.
Okay.
Oh,
There you go. Fact.
There you go.
Okay, back
Right.
to
Back to Young
back to
Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein.
Can I one of my favourite things about this film is the introduction of, I think it's Inspector Kemp.
Oh yes, yeah.
That is so
Genius.
Inspector Kemp's got like it's not a wooden arm, is it?
It's like mechanical or something.
Yeah, an articulated arm. But the first time you see him,
Pistons, isn't it?
it's just something that makes me laugh to this day. And
when he's like lighting, and he lights his finger.
Lights the finger,
It's really
lights the
funny.
finger to light a cigarette, and then he throws a cigarette away like straight away. But that's just one of
What a weird idea.
one of
So
the
good.
best intros to any character ever.
Yeah.
Apart from, props unequal with Leslie Nielsen's character in Airplane. Where it says,
God,
I think
good.
I think the guy next to me is a doctor, and he's sat there with the stethoscope. on.
Yeah.
Got on that.
Yeah, that he is a brilliant character.
He is a
in
brilliant
Young
character, and
Frankenstein.
he's kind of the main bad guy, isn't he? In a way,
Yeah.
he kind of leads the charge against
Yeah.
what Frankenstein is doing in reanimating dead
Yeah.
human tissue.
Yeah, and I love the choice of voice that the actor's gone for.
And they can't.
It's just nuts, isn't it?
And I
It's
love-
brilliant.
And I love the thing where half the people don't understand what he's
Yeah,
saying half
yeah.
the time. Yeah,
There's a lot of like bold choices in this.
Yeah.
isn't there? It's-
You're right though. That
I really
it's
like that.
about truth in performance.
Yeah.
It shows you how big you can go.
yeah, totally.
Where, and keep truthful. You're absolutely right. So I've got this. I'm a big one for IMDb trivia facts, guys, and
Bring it
there
on.
are so many brilliant ones. So this is Gene Wilder's favorite film of his.
That he
So that's
did.
number one. Yeah, that he did. Yeah. So there's Gene Hackman as the blind man
Yeah.
in this. Well, that's a freaking hilarious performance, I think. And
that whole scene is
that
great.
whole scene is so funny. Apparently, the final line, I was going to make espresso at the very end. Apparently, that was ad libbed. That was ad libbed on set, and they kept it in. Mel Brooks often has a little in the same way that Hitchcock has a cameo, but instead of in the background as Hitchcock, Mel Brooks often has a front and center cameo.
Yeah.
And Gene Wilder and he had heated conversations. So I understand of going, please don't do that in this film.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's really we've got a really classy thing going on here, and so apparently the cat that gets darted,
Yeah.
that is Mel Brooks.
Oh, amazing. It's quite a good cat impression
Good,
as
isn't
well,
it?
yeah.
There's genuinely lovely bits of cinematography in it though.
That dark scene was hilarious as
It's
well.
really fun.
Oh my God. That's
And
amazing.
he's holding it the wrong way, and he throws it back. So good. Yeah, genuinely lovely bits of cinematography, like you'd see in a drama rather than a comedy. Like when Igor swings the image of the picture he's drawn of what the monster might look like, and then it crossfades to a man being hanged and
Yeah.
swinging.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's good. That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, I did. I'm not going to name this, but I did a sitcom recently, and I was talking to one of the actors on the sitcom about sort of different types of comedy directors, and she was saying that there are some that really direct you as an actor, and then there are others that just do camera coverage.
Right.
And she was lamenting the loss of directors that really direct you as an actor and say, no, we want this, and like really nuanced stuff, and they just go, no, just cover the action, make sure everything that happens is on camera, as opposed to having any flair about it. And I think this is just an example of something that's really got flair to
absolutely.
it, rather than it just like let's let the script do all the work, and we just put a camera on it and they just do the stuff, and then it'll be funny. It's like, it's in that Edgar Wright way of the cinematography, actually, yeah, and Birdman and all these things, where the cinematography is almost another character.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, because I didn't see it like that. But yeah, it does totally ring true. Sometimes though, I felt like the pace was
Slow.
a bit too slow, and I
think
wondered whether that was maybe
that's so
partly
interesting.
because of the way it was shot. I don't know, but
That's so interesting, because I actually was surprised that that's the first time I ever thought it.
Yeah.
that it feels slow, and potentially I wonder whether it's the difference between 1974 and now, and that the speed of television.
that's
and
how
films,
certainly how it
Right.
felt.
Is that in? You talked about Edgar Wright, for example, and his.
Yeah, and just the speed of television
Yeah.
in general, and it's quantifiable as well, because the number of cuts that will happen per minute.
Yeah.
It has noticeably increased. And I think a good example is to watch some 1970s episodes of Doctor Who and like watch the number of cuts that happen, the number of different shots that happen per minute.
Sure.
It's
Oh,
so
right.
much faster now, and everything's underscored. Whereas you'll get much more silence in the 70s. You get much longer shots and everything. So everything has sped up. I recently rewatched all the 70s Columbo episodes, and they're all so long. They're like 90 to 120
They
minutes
are,
for an episode of telly.
Oh, wow.
And there's a real confidence about them that they're just, oh yeah, you're not going to switch over because there are hardly any other channels, so we're just gonna take our time with this. Whereas now I think there's don't turn over, please don't turn over. Look,
Yeah,
this thing, exciting thing is happening. Shiny things, exactly. So I wonder whether just the general pace of storytelling has increased.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Because there were moments where I was like, yeah, okay, we get it, move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there were points where he could be more economical.
Well, also I think maybe and I don't know whether this is the case at all, this is me speculating, but he's also parodying 1930s original horror films. So there is that kind of quite languorous, long takes and so on. So potentially, I don't know, because it does feel slower than other Mel Brooks films. And even earlier Mel Brooks films. This was the same year as Blazing Saddles.
Oh, really?
The Blazing Saddles came out in the February and this came out in the December, and they were both like mega box office. Imagine that, having two of your biggest hits in 1 year. Incredible.
Helen.
I've seen this loads of times. It is great. I mean, the physical humour, I mean, we touched on obviously the other aspects, but the physical humour is great, especially from Marty Feldman. Like, you know, he's an unusual looking guy, but in this, like, he really amps it up. And, you know, there's some really, really clever bits, like particularly where he's the freshly dead kind of head.
He does
with his eyes as well, just little bits like that. And then I really loved the dance sequence as well. Who doesn't love that? Is great. But I think watching it sort of reminds me that comedy doesn't have to be so complex. It can just be silly things and repetition and throwing darts at cats and things like that.
That's something we're very keen on. That
silliness.
It's okay to be silly.
Yeah, being silly is brilliant.
I think comedy films now tend to be overcomplicated, or they just tend to be based on nastiness and things that aren't very nice, where this is silly, sweet and a bit bizarre. So yeah, it kind of makes you think we should be making more films like this.
Totally.
It's a gap, I think, in comedy films.
Oh,
I mean,
there
are lots. I was thinking about, because we were talking outside of this about films that make us laugh and comedies and stuff. And apart from What We Do in the Shadows, I can't really think of that many modern recent films that I find hilarious. I mean, I think Frances Ha is hilarious, but that's kind of a different thing.
Also black and white.
Yeah, it's a good thing. But this is just, it's funny throughout, and it's a different kind of humour that I think is just got lost somewhere.
There used to be an Academy Awards for Best Comedy or Musical, and as musicals,
so now it's just the Golden Globes that has that.
Yeah, and as musicals died out, and they're very unusual. You get them occasionally, obviously, Into the Woods and so on in Chicago, but they're rare. They sort of dropped that, and it's such a shame, because I think a comedy won't win Best Movie because it's seen as a low art, and it just won't. So it's you notice it's all very worthy films that win Best Picture. And is that what it is? Is it the most worthy film, or is it the Best Picture? Like, what are the criteria? So I think it's a shame actually that there isn't that category of best comedy or musical, because there are all these fantastic films that
are overlooked
because there's not the right category there for them to be recognised.
Because actually it takes like a huge amount of skill to do silly comedy or physical humour or farce or slapstick. It takes a huge amount of expertise.
You guys being comedy writers and comedy actors on stage and on screen. Obviously you guys are a lot closer to that than Helen and I. So understanding what goes into thinking about it, B, writing it down on a piece of paper, C, getting this all onto a format that we can watch it must be torturous.
Enormous undertaking. And apparently I was reading that the first cut of this film was 3 times the length. He said and Mel Brooks said for every joke that landed, there were at least 2 or 3 that didn't land.
Oh, wow.
And so it was just editing down
how
to
long is
the
this
absolute
film?
best. Hour 45?
Yeah.
Which
is
is
long for a comedy film.
Yeah.
I think it's 90 minutes, absolute max. I'm a big fan of the Marx Brothers. I went through a real Marx Brothers
they're like less than 80,
phase.
they're like 80 minutes long max.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, so they started 1929 was the first one with the Coconuts, and it's like, is it just over an hour? I think.
Right.
And you're like, yes, the length of time that a comedy film should be.
Woody Allen's earlier funnier ones,
they're
well
short.
under 90 minutes.
Are you both? Is it just you, Susan, that does improv? Or
No,
do
we
you do as
both
well?
do.
You do both
Do improv. Susan is improv royalty though. I'm just
not at all.
I'm far down there. I'm a jester where she's like,
No,
that's true.
And our podcast is entirely improvised.
Yeah.
As
Yes,
well,
that's
isn't
true.
it?
Yeah.
That's Hayley and Ruth.
Yes,
at
2
Two Stars
stars.
podcast.
Indeed. Thank you very much. But yeah, I do a lot of improv
Yeah.
and I'm really obsessed with it. And I think something like this sort of film or something that relies more on like physical comedy or big jokes and slapstick and set pieces is so technical.
Yeah.
So the amount of technical thinking and planning and rehearsing that went into it is so impressive.
You're very good at
Like the opposite of
physical
improv.
comedy though, Susan. Susan and I did.
I do like to play an animal.
Yes. Susan
when
is,
given the option.
Susan is in a 2-prof group called Beings, where they you sort of. What is it? What is the you mostly lean towards playing things and magical creatures
Well,
and things like that.
that often occurs. So
Yes.
we get a couple of words from the audience and then we improvise a show. And sometimes we play humans, but very often we play, weird. The other day we were like weird sea creatures and,
Really cool.
I don't know, the inside of someone's mind. So yeah, it can sort of be anything.
Great. But Susan and I were in a children's show together called DNN on CBBC, and children's TV has lots more physical comedy in it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I remember trying to write a script. This is slightly different, but it was for CBeebies. So that's 3 to 6-year-olds, and then CBBC is 6 to 12. And you sit down to try and write something for CBeebies, and you go, oh, you can't parody anything because they don't know the thing you're parodying.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow, yeah.
what on earth do you write about? And it's really, so that's why there's a thing called, is it Giggle Biz? My friend Tom Golding is in. And he plays like, I think it's Robin Hood, and he's got stinky feet. And that's the comedy for that age.
Yeah.
But there was lots and lots of slapstick in D. You did it
Yeah.
brilliantly.
When it comes to, nowadays comedy films are long. Some of them
Yeah.
tend to be longer. And
Comedy
it tends
dramas
to be
as well.
Tends to be those ones where there's a lot of improv going on, or people are improvising.
Oh,
just
yeah,
scenes,
right.
things like that. And there's the kind of do directors and editors feel that they have to keep that kind of improvisation in to kind of pay their dues to the actors and people getting involved? Do you think there's less reluctant to cut out those scenes?
Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. I doubt they spare actors' feelings.
I do not.
No. Who cares about actors' feelings? I don't.
Yeah, true.
But I am one.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. Like, because improvisation is a bit more well
Personal.
regarded now as well. Like, and it's a bit more known how it feeds into comedy in America.
Yeah.
How
Yes.
it feeds into scripted comedy in America. So yeah, it's a good point. It would be interesting to know, especially over there, whether there is a sense of obligation.
Yeah, whether it
probably
affects
is.
the editing process
Yeah.
anyway. There's,
Yeah.
as we're recording this, it's just been announced that Kirby Enthusiasm is coming back for
Yep.
a new series, and it's the first series in 9 years, I think.
Is it that long?
Think so. Nuts, isn't it? But I freaking love that show. Oh my god! And there's no word is written down. It's just
an outline, isn't
an
it?
outline, and it's by scene, I believe, and Larry David will say where he needs the scene to get to, and everything else the Daleks improvise. And I also know that in Parks and Rec, the camera people were told think of it like it's documentary, so that if your film, because they'd do a take that was written, and then they would say, and we'll also do a take where you can improvise around it. And so the camera people were prepped to, if someone says something, to whip pan across to get the reaction, which you would never do really in just regular.
right.
You'd go, we're going to film one person, and then we'll repo round to do the reaction shot, and it would be 10 minutes later you were doing that. Whereas this, it was like in real time.
Sure.
So I think that, that's interesting that I'm noticing, you might find this, Susan, as well, in auditions, I'm having to improvise more and more for auditions. So I think improvisation is on the up generally.
Yeah, definitely.
Both in an art form in itself and within scripted stuff. I
Yeah.
think.
So
Which is
this, it's interesting you say that this was cut down.
Yeah,
I just
exactly,
think that's part of the art now. We should get people at Apatow, I think, still, just to
Yeah.
just trim it down.
Trim it a bit more.
There's a film coming out. It's probably out by the time this comes out. Is The Big Sick,
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
really want
looking
to
forward
see
to seeing
Yeah,
this.
which I really enjoy, but it's 2 hours long, and I just think they could have taken out half an hour.
Really?
and made a really
Yeah.
tight, fun film. Let's go to popcorn time, because we're not talking about
Sure.
Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Let's get to the scores. Even though we've got lots to say about Young Frankenstein. Yes, Young Frankenstein and
Popcorn.
Popcorn time. Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah.
to Popcorn Shed for providing the delicious popcorn.
It's really good, isn't it?
Yeah. So this
It's
is
really
the
nice.
caramel pecan pie. Salted caramel.
Lovely.
What's your favourite kind of cinema snack if it's not popcorn?
If I'm in a sweet mood, maybe some. Oh, I was going to say minstrels, but they're too loud.
I was just
Be
about to
something
say, my
quiet.
favourite snack is nothing because be quiet in the cinema.
No, but
Just shut up.
dark chocolate, if you allow
That's
it
a
to
good
melt, silently melt. Yeah.
This is another reason why the Phoenix Cinema in East Finchley is so great, because I remember on their blackboard they had a drawing of a phoenix saying no crisps in the cinema because they're too loud, and I thought this is my favourite cinema. Oh,
I mean, talking about cinema foods, is it acceptable to eat sushi in the cinema?
well, it's
No.
quiet,
But isn't it a bit smelly?
but that's exactly it. It would attack another sense. So no.
You need all of your senses to take in the film.
Oh, man.
Interesting what people will eat in a cinema.
Yeah. Have you encountered that? People eating sushi in a cinema.
I've eaten sushi in the cinema.
I've
It was very quiet.
I've once taken a KFC in and then realised that was a bad choice.
Oh,
Really?
dear. Yeah, there was a guy. I went to see Arrival, and a guy had a full blown meal sitting next to
I've
me.
seen
Like,
people assemble lunches on their lap and stuff.
oh, come on, guys.
So
Watch the film.
let's go back. Let's go to the score. So that was Popcorn
great.
Shed with a salted caramel popcorn. You can find them at popcornshed.com. Young Frankenstein. Gemma, this is
Right.
your choice. We're going to
Yes.
start with the recommendability score out of 5.
So right, I will put
You s-
4.5.
So based on 0 to Tootsie, is it?
0 to Tootsie. Nothing can ever touch Tootsie. So yeah, 4.5. It's an excellent film.
Cool.
And both of those films star Terry Garr, who's great.
That's true.
Susan.
This is tricky. I did thoroughly enjoy it, but I think 3.75. Can I do a
You can
0.75?
do.
That's excellent.
Because I really loved it, but I found the pace quite heavy going at times, and I think other people would too. So
Oh, yes, that's a fair point.
Helen.
I'm going to go 4.5. Watching it, I've seen it lots of times before, and this time around I felt it was a little bit flabbier than I remembered in the post. Like the first hour is brilliant, and then it kind of trails
It
off a
does.
little bit.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
But I still think it's great. And if you haven't seen it and you kind of like, good comedy films, then it should definitely be one to check out, because it has just about stood up, I think, to time.
I think I'm going to be on your kind of ballpark, Susan. I think I'm going to go 3.6. And it's
Specific.
it's only compared to other Mel Brooks films, I think.
Yeah, is Blazing Saddles your favourite?
Spaceballs is my favourite.
Spaceballs is so brilliant.
Yeah.
The bit when they go, when will then be now? That bit with the VHS when they get
Oh,
the
yeah,
video
and they go-
of Spaceballs.
Yeah, this is happening now.
It's
And
so
now- yeah.
Rick Moranis is brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah, it doesn't do enough anymore.
Do you know they're doing a remake of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? Apparently.
No
No
way.
need for that shit.
Yeah, why?
Why on
are they
earth would you
remaking
remake it anyway?
Repeat viewing score, Gemma.
I'm going to say 5 because I could watch the hell out of this over and over again.
Susan.
I'm going to say 4. I could definitely watch it again, but not with huge frequency. Need some gaps.
Yeah.
Helen, you've seen loads already.
Yeah, I have. I don't know whether that's kind of made it a bit less enjoyable. I'm probably reluctant to see it again because I remembered it being hilarious.
Yeah.
And then this time round, I thought it was very funny. So,
You don't want it to degrade any further.
no, I
on the
don't want
laughter
to watch
scale.
it again and then go, what was I thinking? I gave it a 3.5.
I'm going to give it 3.5 because I think I need to watch. This is my first time watching it, and you have to 100% watch it a couple more times. You just have to, because I think there's a lot going on in there, and with a good comedy and a good layered kind of drama as well, you have to. But I don't think it'll be a go-to thing for me.
Yeah.
that often. Small screen score. How well does this work on a small screen
This
versus?
is interesting. Now, I have never seen it on the big screen,
Cool.
even though I think it's an excellent. I think it's one of my top 5 comedy films.
Sure.
Probably not necessarily top 5 films, but top 5 comedy films. But I wonder. I don't know. That's tricky. I'm gonna go. I think it will be. I think it would be glorious on a big screen in that beautiful black and white, and with like the sound as well, because you've got that sort of weepy violin, which would be gorgeous. So I would say small screen score. I'm going to go 3.75.
I think this is a Picture House Central. Sorry,
yes.
No, this is a Prince
Charles.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Or if they do have it on at
They
Picture
could
House
have
Central
a quote
again.
along.
Yes, sound good.
Susan.
I'm going to go 4 actually, because I watched it on a smallish screen. And
iPad.
Oh, what is that? Mel Brooks at the door. He's really angry with you.
Actually, it was a laptop. Upgrade it. Makes all the difference. Yeah, so I'm going to go for 4. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give it a 5. I think this is kind of the perfect Netflix film. This is something that's probably going to have been recommended to some people, and they're like, "Why is this old film been recommended to me? Why would it pop up?" And it's black and white, but it's kind of old, but. This is exactly what Netflix is for. It is one of those films that is probably not on TV very often. You might have missed it, and it's definitely worth checking out. And yeah, it works. There are really lovely cinematic things about it, and it would be nice to see it kind of maybe remastered and restored on the big screen. But ultimately, it is Friday night. You're having a night in, get a pizza, have a couple of beers, and watch this because it's a lot of fun.
I'm gonna based on that appeal there, Helen, even though it wasn't an appeal, I'm gonna give it a bit of a higher score than I thought I was gonna give. I'm gonna give it a 4, and I like the way he said about the whole kind of Netflix vibe, because this is a film. The only reason I haven't seen this before is because when Blockbuster and stuff was around, this is probably the film I wouldn't have ever thought to see, and B, my parents never recorded it on VHS.
Yeah.
And C, no one else I knew had it. Yeah, so it's
I think it's possible to just miss it.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
So this is what Netflix is. It's perfect. So,
Yes.
right, we've got it. Go, watch it. And so thank you very much for suggesting it. So I think, and I don't think I missed much from the cinema. So I think a 4. Engagement score. So how kind of engaged were you whilst watching it? Did you feel the need to be checking your phone? Did you want to stop and start again the day after?
No, I'm going to go quite high on this. So I'll go 4.5.
Cool.
For me.
Yeah, I was actually really absorbed.
Yeah.
Despite the way that the pace slowed down sometimes, I was really absorbed throughout. Also, I love Marty Feldman's performance so much. I just think he's amazing. Just wanted to hug him for being so funny throughout. So I'm going to go 4.75.
Yeah.
Hefty.
Yeah.
I mean, only because I have seen it so many times. One of those things. But I mean, the only thing really is, you would just be watching it and you would just be like, you have to see, does Marty Feldman really look like that? And where have I seen them before? So the kind of distractions really were just, you kind of get into a chain of the people who are in it and what they've done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun for.
Yeah. I think 4 as well. I think you need to be dialed into it to get the most out of the film. And I think I was doing a bit of Marty Feldman and also comparing him with Rodney Dangerfield, because they both kind of got the big eyes that's kind of slightly misaligned. So I was doing a bit of Wikipediaing, which kind of means I must have not been fully engaged with the film. But I think, there's a lot of stuff going on there, which is really cool that you get the most out of it if you're involved. This gives us a score of 4.15.
Ooh, strong.
Which
I think that's pretty.
That's pretty high up there.
Yeah, I think it's pretty accurate as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for choosing this one, because it is one of those films that I think quite a few people might just have missed or just not quite got that it was a comedy as such, maybe, or not quite got why it was in black and white, or just thought, what is it? Or just thought it was a horror maybe and just completely missed it.
So we reached out to the guys on Twitter to get their reviews, and and the results.
We've got a pretty
Putin on the Ritz.
Yeah, Putin on the Ritz.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
So
it's you can see this if you're following us on Twitter. Very very clever
at
visuals.
Flixwatcher Pod.
It's a picture of Vladimir Putin on a Ritz cracker.
Do you think they made that themselves?
Putin on the Ritz.
Which is such a brilliant. The song and dance routine.
Oh God,
is one of the best moments of comedy on film, isn't it?
So this is from Film Roast Show. 5 out of 5. One of the greatest comedy bits in the history of cinema. Gene Wilder is incredible, and Frankenstein.
Yeah. And I didn't get the putting on the Ritz.
Putin on the Ritz. There's now a GIF. There's now a GIF or GIF, depending on which one you want.
Yeah, we got kind of infiltrated with a lot of Putin images. Basement Condition says 5 out of 5. Such a great movie. Every other line has you laughing. The actors work well together, and Gene Wilder.
Enough said,
lol. Zombie Kitty Podcast says, watched this yesterday for the umpteenth time. Such a great film and so quotable.
I like this. Those movie guys. 10 out of 5. Probably one of my favourite Wilder performances. It is great.
Yeah. Christian Steele, 4 stars. The Magic of Gene.
Oh, wow.
This is probably the biggest response.
It's really nice to see so much positive feeling about it. It's really nice.
This is
about an older
I think
film.
this is the biggest response to a film shout out we've ever had. So,
really?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all been positive. So, in fact, no, there's one half negative one.
Where's that?
This is Hindsight Podcast. We reviewed it about a month ago. Alyssa gave it 5 stars. Sam and Matt gave it -5 stars.
Ooh.
What?
So that's a mixed.
Interesting.
Mixed
bag there.
Bag there.
What does -5 stars mean?
That's like
I didn't even get to 0.
Negative.
Yeah. Our reviewer characters would use minus stars.
Yeah,
definitely.
I was meant to ask you who did what voice, and you just answered.
Yeah.
Well,
Actually, that was my Hayley Danks is my reviewer, and she speaks like this.
Yes, and
she
Ruth
would
Charles.
love to review a -5 stars.
So, why, Hayley? I'm fascinated. Why have you given this -5 stars?
I felt that there was a mistake with the colorization, and there were no colors within
right.
it. So
I see. I see what you're saying, but that was a deliberate move on Mel Brooks' part.
Right. No.
Fine. Well, we'll leave that there.
So yeah, that's been a fantastic response from the guys.
Yeah, that's
good.
so nice.
Goes tight very well with our 4.15, which is super high.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for suggesting the film and bringing it to us. And
Pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Do you want to sign off and let us know
Yeah.
where you are?
Definitely.
Yes.
Reminders.
Yes. So my name is Gemma Arrowsmith. You can find my Twitter and YouTube and Facebook pages through my website, gemmaarrowsmith.com.
And I'm Susan Harrison, and you can find me through susanharrisoncharacters.com.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to that episode. That was Young Frankenstein, as chosen by Gemma and Susan, aka Hayley and Ruth, 2 stars. Please do check all the show notes, all the details there, because if you want to find the podcast Hayley and Ruth 2 stars, and also how to find Gemma and Susan, all the details are there in the notes. Please don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, and of course we want to big up Tony and Jay and also Greg, our editors from GL Productions. Of course, please big up Mighty People for the tunes you can hear now. And at the start of the podcast, find us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod and visit our website, flixwatcher.tv. Catch you later. Hope you enjoyed the show.